Hello, Scribble here, back playing Pokemon Run and Bun again. Coming back the day after fighting my rival on Cycling Road. Fight has left me in a little bit of a mood after losing two of my Pokemon, one of my better ones in Corfish. It's left me feeling really conservative and wanting to make sure that I'm not going to risk any others. About to have my next fight against a double battle. While I was planning lines for this, I encountered a line that risked Ledian to 4 high roll crits in a row, which would have killed it, which is like a 0.10 and then 2%. And my first thought was, yeah, nah, rather not. So rival fight has really messed me up. Ended up finding out a different line. I actually had to find 4 different lines for this fight because, as you can see in my fancy Excel tab, I went through 4 different lines, realizing that I made a bunch of mistakes at the very end of them. So this fight took me a lot longer to plan than my rival fight, which is pretty embarrassing, but what are you going to do? Anyway, I'm going to get into it. These guys were actually monstrous to plan for. It's a double battle, they've only got 4 Pokemon, and I get 6. But, man, the Kangaskhan in particular has just been monstrous. It's just really hard to guarantee that it dies on the turn that I want it to. Partly because it's so bulky, partly because it's holding a citrus berry. It's also got inner focus, so I can't flinch it, and one of my original plans was to try and flinch it with Ludicolo's Fake Out to guarantee a kill on a certain turn. That didn't work, but ended up finding something. So we're going to start out. Karakost is intentionally under-leveled at level 38, while Walrein is at the level cap. Both of my Pokemon pre-damaged. Karakost is damaged to the point where both Lycanroc and Kangaskhan see guaranteed kills on it, which means they're guaranteed to target that slot, which is why Karakosta is going to protect and make itself immune. Walrein is pre-damaged for something later in the fight, but currently at this HP, Lycanroc and Kangaskhan don't see kills on it, so we're going to start out by Icy Winding. Lycanroc is holding a Focus Sash, so this is going to break the Focus Sash, and then it's also going to lower both Pokemon's speeds, which is important. So Icy Wind comes out, hitting them both. Move has 100% accuracy in this game, not the regular 95% we're used to. So speeds lowered. Second turn, we're going to switch Karakosta out for my favourite Pokemon in this run, Ledian. And then Walrein is going to go for a Waterfall on the Lycanroc. Ledian is going to be immune to Lycanroc's Ground-type Stomping Tantrum. Stomping Tantrum doubles in power if it failed the previous turn, but that doubled power is still not enough to kill Walrein at this HP. So Walrein is getting a kill here with Waterfall, and now Kangaskhan is going to Hammer Arm again into the now Ledian, who 4 times resists that, lowers its speed again. Kangaskhan is now at -3 speed, so it's pretty damn slow, which makes it perfect fodder for my favourite strategy so far, Ledian's Encore. Encore is going to lock it into Hammer Arm. So because Kangaskhan sees no kills right now, it's going to randomly target either Ledian or Walrein. If it targets Ledian, it's going to try and go for a turn, but that's going to get turned into Hammer Arm instead. And then Walrein is going to switch out because the pre-damage for Walrein means that it is just in range of being guaranteed killed by Victreebel's Leaf Blade. So we see Ledian come out first with the Encore. Now Victreebel is going to attack with the Leaf Blade into the now Torterra slot. Torterra has Shell Armor, so it can't be critically hit. Torterra getting ganged up a bit here, that's fine. So Ledian is still the fastest on the field, and Victreebel can do a lot of damage to it with Poison Jab, but we're going to round 2 Encore it again into Leaf Blade, where it can't do that much damage. So, fun tech, I'm actually going to Stomping Tantrum into my own Ledian here, which is not going to do anything, obviously, because it's a ground-type attack. But, just as the same with Lycanroc Stomping Tantrum from earlier, because it's going to fail this turn, it's actually going to do double damage next turn. And I'm going to need that double damage to kill the Victreebel. Well, I could have simply attacked Victreebel with 2 Stomping Tantrums. Victreebel is holding a Salac Berry and has the Gluttony ability, which means after the first hit, it would raise its speed, and then it would outspeed Ledian. And I can't have that, because then it would kill Ledian, or Torterra, depending on how the damage rolls went. So, Now, Ledian is still the fastest thing on the field, and now I'm going to Tailwind. This lets Torterra outspeed the Victreebel and one-shot it with the doubly powered Stomping Tantrum. God, I love Ledian so much. This game has given me so much respect for Ledian. It is such a fun Pokemon to play with. Alright, Victreebel is down, and we're going to see another Hammer Arm come out from Kangaskhan. Hitting the Ledian, again, very strongly resisted. This is going to trigger Ledian's Citrus Berry. So, Victreebel was the last Pokemon left on that my opponent's right side of the field, so there is nothing left there, so now it's a 2v1 for the rest of the battle. I'm focusing down that one side to make it a 2v1, to make it a bit easier. Kangaskhan's Encore has now ended, so now what is going to happen is Kangaskhan is going to go for a random move on either of the slots because it doesn't see any kills at the moment. So Ledian's going to switch out for Golem. And then Torterra is going to just Synthesis. So this part of the fight is a bit difficult. This is the part that I was really struggling with because Kangaskhan has Sucker Punch, which is a priority move, and if it sees that I have a potential kill on it based on its HP, it suddenly becomes guaranteed to use Sucker Punch. It wants to get that last little bit of chip damage out before it dies. So Torterra went for a Synthesis last turn, so I wasn't putting it into Sucker Punch range too early. Now that I've got Golem and Torterra on the field, Golem has Explosion, which is guaranteed to kill Kangaskhan. Obviously, I'm not going to use that. I'd rather not use that ever, but if I have to, it'll be some point down the line. But it is here to bait Kangaskhan into the guaranteed Sucker Punch. So Kangaskhan will be going for Sucker Punch this turn. Cool, so now we're going to go for Wild Charge and Giga Drain on the Kangaskhan. There's a chance that this does kill. I think if one or two of the moves crit, but there's a good chance that it won't if that's not the case. Actually, I think it's guaranteed to survive if neither move crits. And this was actually the second benefit of having Tailwind up. So my opponent in the back has a Fearow, and if my Pokemon had killed Kangaskhan at this point with Tailwind not being set up, then Fearow has a good chance of killing one of my Pokemon, and I didn't want to risk that, so Tailwind lets me avoid that risk as well. So now we've just gone for the Giga Drain and Wild Charge. Kangaskhan did cover the Sucker Punch. It can Sucker Punch again. It has a 50% chance of not doing it 2 turns in a row, just as a way of preventing you from abusing it by forcing a Pokemon into it. So here I'm going to swap Golem out into Galvantula to set up an endgame where Galvantula can outspeed the Fearow that'll come out afterwards. So now Torterra, let me just check my notes. Torterra is going to go for Synthesis, which is going to fail here because I'm already at full HP. But I can't be bringing out Fearow too early. Galvantula does outspeed Fearow, but it can't one-shot it. So it'll probably survive, and then it has a good chance of killing my Galvantula in return. So now Galvantula's out, it's in a better position. So Galvantula's taken a Hammer Arm, but doesn't do much damage because it resists it. It's going to finish off the Kangaskhan with a Signal Beam, and while that happens, Torterra is going to swap for Walrein to set up for the final turn against a Fearow. So there we go, we got another Sucker Punch. But even if both of those moves crit, it wouldn't have killed Galvantula. And now we're down to our last opponent. So we've got lots of fake experience being gained here because everyone's already at the level cap. Here we go, Fearow is the last Pokemon. So I still can't kill it in one shot with Galvantula unless I crit, but Electro Web lowers Fearow's speed, and Walrein is 1 speed point high enough to be able to outspeed when Fearow is at -1 speed. So it's going to kill it with an Icy Wind. So here we go, Galvantula with the Electro Web. Electro Web dealing more damage than it normally would now because it's we've knocked out one of the opponent's all of their Pokemon, so it's only a single target. The same for Icy Wind, dealing extra damage here. And that's it, Battle 1. This fight took me an embarrassingly long amount of time to beat. Part of that was because I was really adamant on using Ledian for a fun Encore and Tailwind strat at the start. And then I think I got so dead set on that where I just didn't want to change that part of my line that I'd planned, and so I just kept reworking the second half of it after Lydian had already set up. Maybe there was a safer and a faster line if I just given up the Lydian part. I'm not 100% sure though. It felt pretty necessary here, and it did a good job, but who's to say? Anyway, on to the next one. Next up, we've got guitarist Brian. Much appreciated break in difficulty here. Much faster hook on this one. His ones are mostly easier overall. Only one I really struggled a bit with was his Snorlax, which ended up being fairly easy. Yeah, mostly just his strongest move being Body Slam, risking paralysis, having to fight through that, but we found a way around it. Starting out with against an Exploud who only has Boom Burst, a massively powerful normal type move, and a Choice Scarf to ensure it goes first. Boom Burst always does over half of Exploud's HP in terms of damage to my Gastrodon, not to itself of course, which means Mirror Shot will always kill it, returning double the damage I received. Ouch. And goodbye Exploud. Using your own power against you, you fool. Had a bit of pre-damage on Gastrodon going into that, just to ensure that I would always bait Chatot. It would otherwise potentially bait Heliolisk, which I would also be able to deal with, but just guaranteeing it always gets the Pokemon that I want to see. Just makes things a bit easier. Don't have to prepare for branching lines or any of that. Cool, so at this point, I believe Chatot can either Boom Burst or Chatter. Both of these are fine, they don't do a ton of damage, but Chatter can confuse, and I don't really want to play around those chances. So we're switching through and then into Golem. Golem's going to kill it. Going through Caracosta just in case I do see a Chatter, so that Caracosta can absorb the confusion, and then bait guaranteed Boom Burst afterwards. So Chatot tried to sing on the switch, but Golem is already poisoned. To try and block that status. Right, next up we're going to Wild Charge for the one-shot. Chatot going for another Boom Burst. Hopefully this doesn't crit. Yep, nice. It wouldn't kill either way, but Golem is holding a Citrus Berry, and you get a limited supply of those in these games. They're quite... obviously they're a really good item, and you burn through them pretty quickly, so I'd rather not use them if I can get away with it. Okay, alright. Went to yellow, so I thought it was going to trigger it, but... thankfully still above half HP, don't need to waste a Citrus Berry here. I really don't understand why the Gen 3 games do this with their health bars. They're yellow even though you're above half HP. It's very, very strange, very odd choice, but... alrighty, next up, Heliolisk is guaranteed to Grass Knot for the one-shot. Gonna switch to Torterra, who is still a heavy lad. Gonna take a lot of damage still from this. Ow! But it's fine. Heliolisk is now guaranteed to Signal Beam as the highest damaging move. We're going to Stomping Tantrum. Signal Beam couldn't confuse, but we're holding a Persianberry to prevent that. I'd love to see it. No berries needed for this fight. No wasting resources. Huge win for me. Cool. Helios down, and now we are up to our final opponent, Snorlax. So, even with the highest damaging rolls from both of Heliolisk's attacks, Torterra would have enough HP so that I'm never baiting Earthquake from Snorlax. It's always going to Body Slam. So, what we are going to do is switch back into Caracosta, who's going to take that Body Slam real nicely. Yep, Body Slam taken, still plenty of HP, no paralysis. That's fine either way though. So, Snorlax is now guaranteed to Earthquake as the strongest move against Caracosta, which means we get to rely on Old Faithful Lydian, who's going to come in and completely ignore that Earthquake, and then do my favorite thing in the game, encoring my opponent into a useless move. So, normally encoring into a move that has no effect on my Pokemon is a bit dangerous because that can encourage the opposing Pokemon to switch. And switching gets really awkward to play around because it gets so random and it's very volatile. But Snorlax is my opponent's last Pokemon, which means it is stuck Earthquaking against a Pokemon who takes no damage from it and can't switch. I was really excited about this line because I thought that meant that Lydian was going to be able to get a kill by keeping Snorlax encored into Earthquake while I kill it with Aerial Ace. But unfortunately, because of Snorlax's held item leftovers, if I wanted to be able to kill Snorlax with Ledian before Earthquake runs out of PP, I would need to get 6 maximum roll critical hits in a row. Even a single critical hit, not at the maximum roll, would mean that Snorlax survives with at least 1 HP. So, bit sad, but not today for you, Ledian, unfortunately. I'm sure your kill will be coming soon. Alright, and last but not least, Ursaring comes in and is going to finish off this Snorlax. Ursaring will always take 2 critical hit max roll Earthquakes and survive, so we're not risking anything here. I did need to not burn my Ursaring, even though it has guts, because that would risk dying to 2 critical hit Earthquakes. But Ursaring with the Muscle Band always does enough to kill it with 2 shots, even through leftovers. So Encore is over, but Ursaring is going to outspeed and take that kill. Alright, next fight done. Good showing, team. So Caracosta's gained a level, bit awkward. It doesn't really matter. I'm trying to keep Caracosta in particular as a Pokemon who has Protect at a lower level for as long as I need it, because it's good to have low level Protect Pokemon for double battles, so that you can guarantee to bait attacks into the Pokemon that has Protect to waste one of their turns while you use your other Pokemon to start dealing damage. Normally you don't need your Pokemon to be low level because you can just pre-damage them to guarantee the attacks, but in gym fights, before every fight your team gets fully healed, which prevents that, so it's good to keep a Pokemon with Protect at a low level unless you absolutely need it. So holding off for that one for a bit. Right, that fight done, on to the next one. Next up, we're about to fight Collector Edwin. This is a much faster prep than the last couple of battles. I've heard people struggle with his Feraligatr. My Torterra was a good counter to it, but it is literally my only one. So if I had started with Infernape, or heaven forbid Empoleon, I would have no idea what the hell to do here. So good luck to those of you who pick those starters and don't have a good grass type here. So before loading up into the battle, I'm going to need to level up my Luxray, which is one of the Pokemon that I was holding back from the level cap, as it learns Thunderbolt at level 42. And that's a move where I could learn it if I want to, but it's not strictly better than any of the options I already have. So I've been holding off just in case I don't need to level it up. In case I get to a point where I either would need Thunderbolt or would need all 4 of my pre-existing moves to help determine whether or not I would learn it. And with the current lens set, I will not be learning Thunderbolt. Luxray's special attack is not that great, and I think the other options are better for this one. So, loading up into the battle, let's go. No, you cannot see my Pokemon. Get out of here. Collector Edwin is a Johto simp with all of his 3 Johto starters, and I'm about to tell him why that is trumped by the Sinnoh starters with my Sinnoh starter. Alrighty, so starting out with Octillery. Now, Octillery never kills, even holding the Wise Glasses, which increases its special attack with Octazooka. But thankfully, when paired with Typhlosion's Wild Charge, which it is guaranteed to use, the recoil from Wild Charge does end up killing it. So, thank you, Typhlosion, for your service. So, Octillery started out slightly pre-damaged to ensure that I bait Feraligatr as the next Pokemon, rather than Meganium. This way Feraligatr always sees a kill, and so is guaranteed to come out next. So we're going to switch out into Luxray. So Luxray is going to come in and do what it does best by roaring really scarily and intimidating my opponent. Drop the attack. Intimidate doesn't always have great value in this Nuzlocke, where you have to play around crits at all times, so you kind of have to assume that your Intimidate never works because the opponent always crits, but along with Torterra specifically, it is very good, because Torterra just can't get crit. Great synergy. Luxray is holding a Muscle Band so that I can sometimes kill Feraligatr with Wild Charge, but I'm never going to go for it because Feraligatr outspeeds and can one-shot me with a crit. That's only the case to prevent Feraligatr from going for its Sword Stance. If it can see that I have the possibility of one-hit KOing, then it will never set up. So Torterra switches in, takes Liquidation. Feraligatr has Sheer Force, which removes the secondary effects of its moves and boosts their base power instead, so I never have to worry about a Liquidation defense drop, and Giga Drain plus the Intimidate from our good friend Luxray means Torterra can 1v1 for Alligator pretty nicely. So taking another liquidation, and Torterra is going to finish that off. Torterra handling this pretty well. If I didn't have Torterra, I would be sweating. Alrighty, next up is Meganium, who I would have expected to be some tanky monster or something, but no, it's just another setup sweeper with Swords Dance and some physical moves. So Xatu's gonna switch in. Meganium is guaranteed to Seed Bomb here as the highest damaging move against Torterra. Oh! Little bit of damage. Just a tickle. Now Xatu is going to outspeed and two-shot with Air Slash. We're going to see a flinch? We see a flinch. Oh my god, I'm a toxic Hax player. Second Air Slash is going to get the kill. Xatu holding a Cherry Berry because Meganium's highest damaging move is Body Slam. But Xatu is a god and flinches the hell out of these gamers. Right, that's Collector Edwin, and that is the last fight of Cycling Road. We are finally ready to move on from this godforsaken territory. Back onto Route 103 and all the way back to Norman. I will see you soon with that dreadful slog of a section of the game. Alright, see ya.